here. Okay, so what we've got are a whole bunch of pictures. I guess you took the pictures, you took them with your camera, right? Not against a wall, not scanned, I mean, but
No, phone, yeah.
the
I
phone.
tape them to my drawing board and then
Okay,
use my phone.
okay, because they look like they're pretty square on, so that's good. Um, the only thing that's going to be kind of tricky is, let's see, there's two ways that we could do this. One is that we could process them first and then load them into the PDF, or we can load them into the PDF and then process them. So maybe I'll just do it both ways so you can see both things. So I'll make a new folder here, call it a test folder.
Yeah, so like since I started this program, I've wasted a lot of time like individually, all 43 images, trying to take out the gray, trying to resize the image, and then when I'm all done, saving,
Yeah.
export.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. It's start with, I'll go ahead and start with one open. Often it helps if you have it open. Now, taking the pictures themselves, if you have two lights on your image, so one on either side to try to lighten, have it as light as possible, that's helpful. You could take one image and play around with the different settings to see if you can make it, see, this is a histogram. This is called a histogram. And all the pixels are kind of squished into this one part of the image. So if you pull this up like this, you'll see that you get more intensity of, but we're also getting kind of a pixelation across the shadowing across the edge there. So this is a little harder because you don't want to completely lose your line quality either. So let me try some other settings and see if I can find a good setting for this.
I used printer paper too, which was a
That's okay.
mistake.
No, it's not a mistake because it's cheap and it's
Yeah.
thin. You can see through it. It's not really a problem. It can be a little bit frustrating for other reasons, but it's not that bad of a problem. Okay, so I tried hue and value, and let me try curves. Sometimes curves works. Yeah, we're still getting this like dark gradient across the front of it. And we may not be able to get much better than that, unfortunately. So let's see what would be the best way to do this. Let's open up a few more and see what they look like here. This is why it's nice to have a scanner, definitely. But it
Yeah,
shouldn't,
so that
yeah, it still shouldn't prevent you from being able to do what you want to do. So it's just a matter of processing it. If we do the auto, well, I don't like that either. I don't like that either. It looks like it's pretty clear around the figure itself, although I don't recommend cutting up your pictures all that much. Let's go ahead and I'll try the hue and saturation first. If we do that and we lighten it up a little bit, that might help. And there's a way to make the figure part darker by doubling them up if we have to. But okay, let's try that. So I'm going to do a hue and saturation setting where we take out the saturation and we lighten it up as a batch file. So the way we do that is we go to Actions, which is this guy over here, and the little like play button. And as you can see, I have a ton of actions. They're just basically little scripts. So let's see what happens if I run this one on here just to see what it looks like. Well, it's not too bad. That was hue saturation and a smart sharpen. which I could just redo this and show you exactly what I did, because that's easy to do. So undo this, go to revert, revert. Okay, let me throw this guy out. So what I'm going to do is run, it's going to do exactly what I do to this, it's going to record exactly what I'm going to do to this image, which is kind of cool. As soon as I make it a new action, hue, I'll put hue and sharpen, I'll go ahead and sharpen it too. And you can give it a function key if you want to, which would be like any of your F keys. And you can even add shift and command or shift and command. So you have like 12 function keys times 1, 2, 3 modifiers. So if you
Gotcha.
like to use, yeah, if you like to use these and you use them a lot, like I have F8 is set for flatten, and I use that all the time. It's pretty useful. So we're going to record what we're going to do here, and we're going to go to image, adjust, hue, saturation, and I'm going to set the saturation to 0. I'm going to lighten it just a little bit, like so, and say OK. So it adds that to my action. And then it looked like I did a sharpen before, so I'm going to try that again and see if that, I think it makes it a little bit more intense. That's good. So then we'll stop the recording. Now I'm going to go ahead and close this and not save it because I don't want it to do this action to it twice. And I'm going to take this action and run it on those images that I have in the folder. So when you go to File, Scripts, Automate, it's going to be different. If you're on the PC and you're using Creative Cloud, oh, somebody responded to my question. It might be under Automate, it might be under Scripts. So if you don't find what you're looking for, check under both places because it's a little bit different between the PC and the Macintosh. So I'm going to use Batch, and it automatically pulls up the action I just created. I'm going to take it from a folder, so I have to go find the folder, which is this folder I made with all your stuff in it called Boy Frog. I choose that folder, and destination, I'm going to put it, ooh, I didn't put a save function on this. That's going to be a problem. Crap, I forgot about that. This might break. Because I definitely want it to go into a different folder. I want it to go into test folder. I might have to change the action because there's something funky that happens with the save as command. I don't want to have to hit that button every single time, so I'm just going to try it like this and see if it works. It might break. I forget which way I'm supposed to do it. So I've done action, hue and sharpen. Folder, the source folder is Boy Frog. The destination folder is test folder. And hopefully it's going to override the save as. Let's see what happens. It might break. Oh, it's working.
And this saves them as JPEGs?
It should. And while it's processing, I'm going to go ahead and open up my test folder and see. I'm not getting anything in there. Nope, it's not working. Okay, so I was afraid of that. What I'm going to have to do, it's not saving them at all because I actually had it stop the save function or skip the save as function, so I have to change this.
But it's applying the action to
It's
all of them.
applying the action, but it's not saving it.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to do this again. Actually, I'm going to do this whole thing again. This is the one thing that I always get screwed up on is when I do a save function as a JPEG, because a JPEG always asks you, what level you want to save it at. So a hue and sharpen, and I'm going to record that. So I'll do image adjust, hue saturation 0, slightly lighten it, say OK. Then I'm going to do, actually I can do this smart sharpen as an insert menu item. The hue and saturation I have to put in manually because I have a setting for it. But if I do this with insert menu item into the recording, then I can actually just go in here to filter, sharpen, smart sharpen, and that adds that, okay, into my action. And then I'm going to do, I want to do a save as. This is where it gets tricky. And every time I do this, I have to figure out how it's done again. It may be
So I usually have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I was going to say when I save them, if I'm doing something on Photoshop and I save it, I'm on a PC, so I have to go to export,
Oh,
save to web or whatever.
you have to go to
So
export?
yes.
Well, you know, we can get around, how we can get around this though, is by saving it as a bitmap or any other, almost any other thing besides a JPEG, because only the JPEGs ask you what quality you want to save it at. We save it as a bitmap instead into the test folder. We can still load it into our file, but it won't unless I just blew up my computer because I've got the spinning pinwheel of death here.
Oh man.
Okay, that's, well, I'm going to put that in there. It's not going to matter to you. You do whatever, whichever one suits you. Okay, so stop recording. I'm going to close this, and I'm actually going to go back to my folder. Now, you know, this may not be the textbook way to do things. Like I tell a lot of students, I'm a hacker. I just sort of like manhandle it until I get it to do what I want it to do, till I get the results that I
Right.
want. And it isn't always exactly the right way that you should do it according to the book, but if you get the results that you want, that's all that really matters. Okay, so my test folder is empty and my frog folder has all the original images in it. So now I'm going to go back to Photoshop and I'm going to run that batch again. Only this time it's going to automatically save. So it's still coming from the Boy Frog 2. It's still going to test folder. It's going to override save as because I've got a save function in there this time. This time it should work. Cross your fingers. Here we go. Oh, please. That's so screwed up. All right, I have to fix this. See, I didn't like the way that I did that. Ugh. Let's do this one more time. I'm recording this. I stop the recording and start it again. I'll just cut off the beginning part. All right, one more time. Sometimes it's awesome to be able to just put in a menu item, but it doesn't always work. As you can see, it wanted to know exactly what I wanted to do to it. So I'm going to have to do this myself.
So if I understand right, if I open up all the images and I have Photoshop open and I have all these different untitled 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, I can just record, go to action, record, and then whatever I do with the saturation, the lightness, can I also go to export, save for web, and save it like that?
Probably yes, but anything that you set, like I actually set an actual saturation and lightness setting on this. It's going to do exactly that. If there's any questions, if there's you try to do an action that comes up and gives you asks you a question, like do you want to save it as, you know, high resolution or a medium resolution, it's going to stop and you'll have to hit a button to continue the action. And that kind of defeats the whole purpose of doing the, hang on a second, I can't,
Shortcut.
yeah, doing the shortcut. I can't talk and think at the same time. So this, I didn't realize this would come up with an actual question. So I can adjust this. I don't want to, I want to remove the Gaussian blur. Okay, I can do that. We don't want it to get too pixely, so we've got to be kind of careful. That's okay, that'll do. So it's going to save that exact setting that I put in there and apply that exact setting to every single file. That's the only drawback of actually having it record each action as you do it. Because if you want it to vary, then you have to give it a more generic action. And then we'll put a save as, and we'll save it as a bitmap. And with any luck, and we'll go ahead and save it into the folder that we want to save it to, just in case it decides to give me a hard time about that as well. It might. Okay, now that should be done. So saving as a bitmap, and it's actually saving it in a specific place. So this may not be a reusable action. It may only be good for this one particular thing that I'm doing because it's going to save it to a specific place. That's one drawback. And like I said, if you do it by the textbook and you've been trained exactly how you're supposed to do it, just like you're supposed to like rebuild a carburetor or whatever, then that's not a problem. I just know that I can set up these things and make it run on a program, on any file, and make it do it to all the files. So, all right, so I stopped the recording on that. I'm going to go back to my test folder, and I'm going to throw out that one that I just saved because I don't want it to do it twice. Okay, let's try this one more time. So Photoshop, automate, batch. As long as you have a save as in there, because if you don't, then it's going to, we're having it override that action. So we're saving it from the frog into test. You can actually add almost anything you want to the document name. Like you could give it a starting serial number, a fresh serial number, and that might, so it's going to be the document name plus the, let's see, 2-digit serial number, and then the extension. I could do that. I could also put the date on it. Could do a lot of different things to it. You can play with it. I mean, it's frustrating at first, but it can be kind of interesting to experiment with it. It's really just like really crappy programming.
Yeah, I mean anything. Yeah, I mean I'm literally spending like a minute to two on each image.
So let's see what it's doing. If it's saving, yep, it's saving my folders, saving my files, and it's saving them with a 2-digit extension. Although
Nice.
that might be causing more problems than it solves. We'll see. That's really interesting.
Staring at all these gross gestures are making me angry.
Well, so here it's processing all the files for me, so I can just like get up and walk away if I want to. And I noticed that
Right.
all the files are different sizes too. Like some of these are 66%, some are 100%.
Yeah, I was
That's
in
gonna
the
be
process.
that's
Yeah,
gonna be a problem. That's gonna be a big pain in the tush. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
yeah, I went really raw.
That's fine. That's fine because you want to be able to process them as quickly as possible. You don't want to have to futz around with individual stuff. Now, do you have a tablet?
I do.
Because what you can do is once you get the sketched out and scanned and put into your document, you can do a second pass with the tablet and throw away
Yeah,
the original sketch.
if I was going to do this over, I would definitely do what the one student did and just go digital. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, I
sketch.
don't.
That's the way that I like to do it. I like to sketch it out on paper, get it into the computer, and then do it from there. Right. I have a funny
Right.
feeling that these are terribly out of order. Why this is, oh, and they're huge too. Oh, I see some of them are big and some of them are not. Okay, so we can run a batch on that as well. 01, it's out of order, but I'm not sure how
Wow.
to line this up. I might have screwed that up with that extension.
I could try to do a different one that's not
No,
so busted.
well, this is what I would do. I would go in and just fix the file names. That's probably easiest so that they stay in order. And that's not really a big deal because the computer is kind of stupid about 2-digit numbers.
Yeah.
So if we fix these first, and I'll go back and I'll change, I'm going to do, there we go. I'm going to do another thing to the batch to make it, make them sized the same. Whoops. Okay. We've got two 13s. All right, which one's the right one? They're both good, aren't they? So this must be 13. I'm going to do this as 13-1 and take off that 2 right there. And if it's out of order, I can fix that later. And then we've got two 15s here, three 15s. 1, 2, 3. Those are the same. Okay, so that's easy. Those are the same. We can get rid of that one.
I think they should be very similar. I just maybe I missed a number and try to go back and renumber them. And
Well, those two images look exactly the same to me.
yes,
So I can get rid of this one. One of them, doesn't matter which one, because they're exactly the same size and everything.
these
And
these are
so,
these are perfect for the tutorial because it's like the worst case scenario.
so we go 14, and then it's going to go 14, 15. Oh, look, 14 and 15 are the same too. Okay, so let's get rid of this one too. That's good. All right, actually, let's look at these like this.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
We can do it this way, and that way we can walk through it fairly quickly and see what we've got out of order here. So 1, 2. You should, oh look, 2 1s. Should definitely, when you're drawing these things, always number your frames, because for obvious reasons, it would make your life so much easier. So we're going to throw this one out. Next one, next one, next. As long as they're going in consecutive order, it kind of doesn't matter what they're named. Okay, these two look to be exactly the same. They're exactly the same size.
Yeah.
In this particular review, I don't know how you can duplicate this on a PC, but it's sort of a Macintosh thing. So that, but I checked to see that they're the same size. I wanted to see the dimensions, but it's not showing me that. So I can throw this one out. Actually, I'll throw this one out. Wait a second. 11, 12. Okay, so we'll throw 12 out. And we'll rename 13 to be 12. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 16. Okay, this one is
So I knew he was
out
going to
of
be
order.
turning the other way, so I just like
So where
flipped
does
it,
he
and
where
then
does he go? Is he
it would
reversed?
be
He's flipped.
it would be after the turn. He was supposed to like watch him go around and then flip the other way to see him come around the other side.
Oh crap.
So,
What did I just do? Okay. Here's
probably like
this is a good example. You should not repeat keyframes. I mean, unless you're really trying to cut corners with your production costs, but in this case, I would not flip keyframes like that.
okay.
So I would redraw it because for one thing, he's going to be, he may be following it around, but his hands and his feet should shift. They should be different.
Right.
So we'll get rid of this guy here. Okay, there. Yeah, these got kind of rough, didn't they? Whoops.
Yeah.
What happened? Okay. I keep hitting my down button, my number down, and I'm going page down instead. Why is that? Okay. See, this looks really cool when it's playing quickly. The turn is actually pretty 3D. Okay, so this one's out of order.
Yeah, that should be like 40 or so, 39,
Okay,
40.
I'm going to call it 50 just to get it out of the way.
Yep, and you know what? That's actually a good point because that's why I had two 15s and two 12s because I didn't allow myself enough room to get it out of the way.
Yeah, so you can do normally in animation or like in storyboarding, you would use a 0.1 or 0.2 or some other level.
Yeah.
So this one's also, I'm going to make this one 52 to get it out of the way. Put it on the end and we'll figure out where it goes. All right. There's another one. I'll make this 53. But it's a little easier to do it in the preview mode than it is to do it by opening up each individual one and losing your mind that
Right.
way. So
I probably would have just, and with the PC, I probably would have just opened up the file and then just renamed them, looking at the thumbnails. Like,
yeah, you can rename them just by looking at the thumbnails. It's a lot easier than, okay, so these last few jumping ones are kind of crazy out of order. So instead of trying to fix them here, since they're pretty much in the same basic area, I'm going to change that when I get into the Photoshop file. But they look like more like they're ordered, pretty well ordered now. They feel pretty ordered, and so you can flip through them pretty quickly, which is the advantage of using using a PDF as well, because you can flip through the PDF once you get them lined up. Okay, so we'll go back to this view, and I'm going to get rid of all these because they're like wicked out of order. And I'm going to slightly adjust because I didn't realize that there were some that were different sizes. So this one is 2000 by 1500 pixels. But this one here, there was one that was much less than that. Where did it go? 900 by 675. So while this one is half the size of this one, that's a problem. How can I fix that? Okay, so 900, it's basically 900. All right, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set my action. I'm going to redo my action one more time. So it's okay, because repetition reinforces learning.
yep.
All right, so we'll do this. Open up one dude here, and we'll start another. We'll start a new action here.
Redundancy.
Redundancy. Well, repetition. You know, if you do something over and over again, the trick is though you've got to correct yourself when you do it wrong, so that when you don't like repeat the same mistakes over and over again, but you're actually adjusting. Yeah, so actually making it better each time. Okay, so we're gonna do. We've already decided we're going to do hue and saturation.
I hope when you play this for other students, or they're like, "Wow, this is worst case scenarios."
Oh no, believe me, I've seen worse. Okay, so hue and saturation. Let's add the. I'm just going to add a regular sharpen, and not get too fancy with it. For training purposes only, yes. And I think I'm going to go ahead and add a. I'm going to take my life in my hands here and try to put in a levels. Hopefully it won't suck. Oh, it's going to suck. No. Okay, because I'm only doing it to this one. I really don't know how it's going to look on all the others.
Got it.
It might suck badly, but let's see what we get here.
I usually just take the white one on the right over to the left like an inch.
Yeah, well, I kind of want to capture the pixels, but I don't want to capture, I don't need all the excess grays. I just want to get the meat of the pixels here. So, and I don't want to get too much of this gray crap in here because that's just going to be a real pain to deal with.
You know, I ended up just using the eyedropper to get like a general white color, and then I literally just painted around the figures.
Yeah, see, that doesn't totally work either. There's probably
Yeah,
problems with that too.
I'm a hacker too.
Yeah, getting in what you can do. Okay, so then I've done hue, saturation, sharpen. I threw in a levels. Could do threshold. I mean, we could try that. It often is too pixelated though. Let's just try it and see what happens. Let's see. Yeah, it just makes it ugly. So we're not going to do that. Then the final thing I want to do is an image size. And what I'm going to do is set the width to 900. And I'm only going to set this width. And hopefully it won't matter to that. And that should set it the same size as, so if it's already 900, it shouldn't change it. And if it's not 900, then it will change it. All right. And I'm going to go back to saving it as a JPEG and hope that I don't screw it up badly because I don't like the BMP. It's going to ask me how I want to save it as though, isn't it? Come on, save. Save large. That's good. I'm happy with that. Let's see what happens. All right, it's all an experiment. I'm going to throw this one out and run my batch on this. So Photoshop, automate, batch, action 1, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to take this out. I don't want this at all. I want this just to be document name and extension. I don't want anything else in there. Override save as. To save as. Yes. It should do it. Please work. While it's doing it, I'm going to look in here. It's doing it. Yay. Okay.
Nice.
So it is processing these images. It's making them the same size, which is going to help a lot if they're too big. And it's lightening them up a bit, sharpening them up a bit.
How did you do the size? You just,
Oh,
where was that at?
you had 2 sizes in your folders, in your frog. When I look here, there was one, like this was 216 by 1512.
Right.
This one, say this one here was 900 by 675.
Right.
So hopefully the aspect ratio is identical across the board, because if it's not, it's going to choke on the aspect ratio. But I think it was just a matter of, like, you had your camera set slightly differently, so it took a higher
Right.
definition version, but they're still the same, like, it's still a 3:4 ratio wise. The other way you can do the size thing, if you're not really sure what the 2 dimensions are, you can do it as a percentage. Like if you just have to get something smaller, you can
Right.
save it 50%. It's got this big ugly black thing in the corner here that I'm seeing is happening because of the adjustment that I did, but I think we can work with it still. Once they get all processed. Yeah, the only way, really the best thing to do would be to get a scanner or
Yeah.
switch completely over digitally. Now, if you could do that at this point, okay, we've got all these guys processed here, and we are pretty sure that they're in the right order. They've got double things on them, but I'm going to take out these. Well, we'll just see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen with those parentheses, but the next step would be to go into Photoshop, and you go to scripts and you load the files into a stack, which does exactly what it says it's going to do. It's going to take all the files from this particular folder, which is the test folder. And I'm going to select them all. I'm going to open, and it's going to load them into a stack. So it's going to create a layered Photoshop file for me.
Right.
In its, hopefully in consecutive order. All right, let me put the actions away. We don't need those anymore.
I have a big fancy scanner at my work, so from now on I'll just do that.
It's consistency of lighting and size that's really the advantage. But now that we've got it into a layered Photoshop file, it doesn't matter as long as that they loaded in correctly. These might be out of order, so we're going to take a look at them by doing this. You go into the open up as layers, and on the eyeball here on the in the icon, you hold down your Option key or your Alt key and click and turn off all the other eyeballs. And holding down that Option or Alt key, depending on if it's a Mac or a PC, you use the bracket key and you walk down the stack. So you can look at your motion without having to click on each thing and not seeing what you're seeing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So this way we can really see the flow of it and if the flow is working. And we can see that there's a couple ones out of order, but that's okay because this allows us to walk through it. So even like here, we've got.
I didn't even have all the frogs in yet at this point.
Well, I think you can add those in digitally. Once you've gotten all of your layers in, we still have all this gray, but if you're going to redraw over it with your line work, then don't worry about the gray. But if you want to try to get rid of the gray, that's going to be a different problem. You're going to have to trim it off, which isn't a total disaster, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. All right, so let me go all the way back up to the beginning. One. Okay, so what I do is put this on 50%, and if you're using the Move tool, if you have your Move tool selected, then you can just hit the number 5 and it'll automatically put the opacity at 50%. And then you click on the next one and you can see through it, so it's like onion skinning. So if this is the first one, the second one is much bigger. So what we're going to want to do, this is not ideal. You don't necessarily want to always have to end up doing this. If you've done it with a light table, you shouldn't need to do this. But we're going to size this up, and I'm going to match his foot. So you want to anchor the foot when you're doing any kind of walking animation. If he's walking across the screen, if he's walking in place, then you want to find a midpoint to put it on. But here he's walking across the screen, so I'm going to match up his foot. So I'll do that, enter. Then I'll turn off this one. I'll turn this to 50% and then turn on the next one down. All right, so he's stepping down with that foot and picking up that foot, so that's good. Okay, turn this off, put this 50%, turn this one on, and we'll adjust this guy here so his foot matches up. Seems a little big, so I'm just going to size him down just a little bit because he just feels a little bit big. So you just work your way down the stack, adjusting each. Okay, so here's a problem. He's stepping forward with his left foot, but that's not a keyframe.
I wonder if that got out of order when I was drawing it, like if I was planning on doing another step or something.
Yeah, it might have. Or you know what? It could be that these are the same frame. It could be the same frame because they're close enough. In other words, it's not a complete keyframe. It's like an in-between. So it may be worthwhile to delete this one.
Right.
So I'm going to delete that layer. You can always add it back in if you want to. And go to 50%. And then the next one, he's stepping down, so that's good. But he's too big now, so we're going to make him smaller. So if you're drawing on a light table, theoretically, and you're drawing several layers, you should be able to draw through these so that they line up on the paper. And if the paper lines up, then when you photograph or scan them, they should line up.
You know, originally I drew it like a storyboard, and then I was trying to be lazy and go through and draw basically like the in-betweens.
Trying to be lazy, huh? I see, the
Yeah.
truth comes out. It always
Yeah.
comes out. Oh my goodness. Right. So, oh, I don't want to move that guy. I want to move this guy here. Keeping track of your layers is probably the hardest part of the whole
Yes.
process. That's why it's good to have your layers numbered. I mean, all professional animators number their frames, and you just remove those in the final pass. Because
Noted.
otherwise you will lose your mind very rapidly. Okay, so I'm trying to line up his feet.
That's another thing too. When I was doing this originally, I had like 50, 60 pieces of paper with random drawings all around me, and it was a mess.
I suppose if you're a skilled and a veteran animator, you could easily reorder your frames. But since you're just kind of starting out, probably just made your head hurt a lot
Yeah.
more than you needed to. So this may be time consuming, but I have a funny feeling that what I'm doing right now is probably less time consuming than what you were trying to do.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going through each of these. I like the poses themselves are pretty cool. And you can
Yeah.
hold the shift key when you're sizing stuff so that it doesn't change aspect ratio, unless you want to change aspect ratio. I'm trying to anchor that foot. And this is only the first pass, so I'll have to go through it again and see how well that lines up.
I had my 6-year-old actually, like I did what you said. I
Yeah,
recorded him
yeah.
doing all this stuff.
Yeah, no, that's the perfect way to do it. And you can just refer to your, and once you've done this like a million times from video reference, you'll be able to make it up. So
Right.
if you imagine if you're training to be an animator, you spend a lot of time, most of your time is spent doing in-betweens. So you're in-betweening for a master animator based on a very strict
His
template.
keyframe.
His keyframes and the number of in-betweens that need to go in between those keyframes. So you'll be drawing him over and over and over again, and you eventually learn that how the motion works. So that's why it's so hard to just kind of try to skip over some of these really fundamental foundation steps in learning a process. We
Yeah.
can automate things until we're blue in the face, but if we don't understand how it works, like if you don't know how to walk, how can you run?
Right. I did notice like what you're talking about with like the way that the knee swings, like swings around, like how it kind of lowers down, and I kind of try to use the kneecaps to like imagine how they would swing around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, trying to
Or I would try to
see.
keep like the belt, like where the belt would be, I would try to line those up to kind of think of how the waist would spin around or pivot on the knee and things like that.
Yeah. So this is a hard one because he's got both hands down, his knees are up. And the very next one, he's got one hand down and both
He
knees,
crosses over with the
both,
left. He
yeah,
crosses over with
both
the left arm.
knees are down. So I can't tell which arm is supposed to be. I think this is the outside arm or the close arm.
Yep, that one swings over the right arm.
Okay.
Yep, like that.
Oops. And like I said, keeping track of what frame number you're on is probably the most challenging part. That one's one of the rougher ones, but it's going to be easy to draw over them, I think.
Yeah, I ended up after I used the brush tool to paint the white background. I actually took them to my work and scanned them like that. So like now I have clean, lined up hard copies so that I could, if I want to use the light table and draw over those, it'd be a lot easier.
Yeah, that would be another way to do it. If you do that, you should get yourself a pegboard or make a peg strip. There's
Yes.
the tutorial in the resources that shows you how to make one out of a ruler. That would be you'd have those holes to line things up.
Right. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that
Okay.
video. Helpful.
I made one of those. It worked pretty good, but the peg strips, you can buy those from Dick Blick's for $12. So it's hardly worth making one, except that I don't
Right.
know. I really don't know if it fits the punch hole, regular punch hole stuff. Okay, let's see. I'm going to line up. No, that hand. That might need some fine tuning. I'm not sure which hand to line up.
Actually, I think the frame that you're
Is it
on
out of
top
order?
of right now, yeah, that one's should the one where he's about to jump goes towards the back. It goes probably the one where he's squatting down about to jump. That's actually like later on.
Oh, that's a
That
later
one.
one? This is a later one? Okay, so
Yes,
it
ma'am.
should really go from here to here.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's move that guy down here somewhere. We'll deal with him later. And you can put more than just 2 frames in a row if you make them thin enough that you can see through them.
Yeah,
Oops.
I ended up stumbling through this and kind of did what you're doing. It just took me a long time to get there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see. It's definitely something that you have to do with no distractions, because the minute you get
Yeah,
distracted, it's all over.
which is like never in my house.
Well, you got like a million kids, right? Not a
I
million.
do. I got a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old. It feels like a million. No, but I do have teenagers, but well, actually they're 18 and 19. They're at college, but they come and go.
They should be helping you out.
Well, they're in a different city or a
Oh.
different town. And they're not very helpful anyway.
Teenagers often.
They're like they're like real teenagers, like not the good kind.
Oh, obnoxious ones?
Yes.
I see. So another thing that you can do is you can draw your character and your frog separately, your boy and your frog separately. You don't have to draw them together so that you can fine tune the motion of the frog separately from, and then just composite it. Well, I say just composite. It sounds easy, but it's not as that easy, but it's easier than trying to draw them together.
Right. That was kind of the plan. That's why he looks like a lump of whatever. It's because
Lump of mud. Yeah, no, that's totally fine.
it's kind of it's kind of what I do with hands and feet. I just draw whatever, and then the plan is to go back and draw hands over them.
Sure. Oh, no, this is totally fine. I mean, you're just blocking it in, and that is absolutely the way that I would do it, just to block in the basic shapes before you get into any serious detail. There's no point in doing the detail if the motion's not right. That's why you really are supposed to do it so quickly. You're supposed to do the gestures really quickly, because if the motion doesn't work, then you really are wasting your time with doing details that aren't going to be used.
It's funny. I really was trying to draw the drawings in like 2 minutes. I'm like, oh, the instructions say 2 minutes.
It's it's confusing. It's confusing, and it's confusing to teach too, because I'm not an animator. I'm a figure drawer, but I realized that, like, after teaching this class for a couple of years, that it really wasn't about animation. It's really about gesture drawing, and doing gestures in 1 or 2 minutes. I can do that. So just do a bunch of consecutive gestures. And that
Right.
totally makes a lot more sense than trying to do a pencil test of something that you're completely making up out of your head. And that's another thing, is that you really don't have to make it up out of your head. you can use reference, and you don't have to go completely blind, because it takes years to get to the point where you can conceptualize a figure in 3 dimensions just off the,
Right.
just out of nowhere. Let's see, I'm gonna do this guy here.
He kind of, from that one, he kind of sits up. I don't know if that's the right one, but I think it'll work. He's kind
Well,
of low, and then he kind of raises up a little bit and then turns his head.
the other problem that I'm probably going to run into is that I'm sizing it without regards to the very first one. So if I go back to
Right,
the very
yeah.
first one, and if he's way off in size, or the very last one, that's going to be bad. So I'm going to stop at 25 and just take a look
Yep.
at what I've done so far.
That was a hard lesson too, because once I realized I was doing that, you had a video where it talked about that. So I jumped to like you said, 25, and I realized, and then I started working backwards and was doing double work. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. See, like, so this is 2 frames. These are identical, except one I've resized already. So I'm going to get rid of the second one now before I forget. All right. So I'm going to go back up to the beginning here. And with one eyeball selected and all the other ones turned off, you can do the walk down with your keyboard. You have it selected, you hold the Option key, and then you just walk down the frames. So it's already looking better, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I can see that there's some funkiness here. Like these need to be switched maybe. Yeah, that fixed it. Okay, so for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and delete the rest of these frames from this particular file. Well, I should save this file just in case I want to play with it later. I should have saved long ago. Never go that long without saving. You're asking for trouble. That was bad.
Right.
Okay, so this one, we'll keep this one. And this one, oops. These look really good though. I really like the way the boy really does look like he's turning. I mean, you've definitely got the 3-dimensionality of the form with the overlaps, and I mean, but you can go even more simplified. I mean, you're kind of outlining the arms and things, but you could
Right.
go more of stick figure at this stage, and that might save you some time because you would work out the position of the limbs without having to do all the overlaps.
I really struggle with gesture drawing. Like I don't know why. Like I feel like I'm decent
Well,
at
how
drawing,
long
but
have
I
you been
really,
drawing?
I
Really, how
mean,
long?
like
Not that long, right?
not like this, you know,
I,
not properly.
I took 10 years before I could even tolerate gesture drawing. I hated it. I hated it. It made me feel like such a loser.
Like
You
if I
know?
don't draw the form, like if I don't almost draw like we talked about in another class, like the banana or like
Right.
rectangles for arms or legs. Like if I don't draw that, like I have a hard time like seeing what I'm trying to do.
All right, so I'm going to delete these other frames so that we can move on to the next phase. So I've got there's my 30. It looks like I probably have 30 frames anyway, or maybe 20. Maybe might not need to have all the frames, although you can if you want to. Okay, so let's walk through this again. Forward, 1, 2. So this one I would definitely put an in-between here, because in walking animation, the keyframes, you want to have a passing frame. So you'll want to have a frame in between right off the bat as a keyframe.
Right.
that is going to be between these two frames. Where's my pen? So you're going to go from here to here to here. So in this middle layer, I'm going to draw a kid. Whoops, oh, that's so thick. God, I hate drawing with a tablet. Let's try that again. All right, that's better. And you can just draw him as a stick figure. You don't have to do too much more than, okay, his arm is going like that, so then you're going to swing this arm a little forward like this, and it's going to be forward more over there, and the other arm is behind his body somewhere. We don't really have to see it, and his hips are in between these two. His leg is right here, and his other leg is, okay, so he's standing on that one. So I have to do this actually. I have to talk to myself this way when I draw these things because I'm trying to remember which is in front and which is in back. So if you can keep, sometimes I'll draw like the front leg in blue and the back leg in red, just so that I can keep them in the right order from each other. Does that make sense? I'm
Yes, ma'am.
conceptualizing and drawing at the same time is probably the worst thing for me personally to try to do. I've got the airbrush on. That's why I'm not getting a black line. So I may draw the first one and it looks like crap, like this one does. So the easiest thing to do is to put another layer on top of it, drop this layer down to nothing, and redraw it better now that I've got a better idea
Yep.
of what I'm trying to draw. And
Yeah, I do that.
yeah, so that
I did
is
that a lot.
an advantage of using the tablet if you can stand using the tablet. But I don't like to do finish work with a tablet. Gesture work is okay, but real finish work I want to do with a real pencil and pen, because I'll always end up getting this like really nasty sketchy look, and I don't really like that sketchy look. It's okay for figuring out the motion, but it doesn't look good in the long run. It really looks like crap. Okay, so I'm going to put that guy in there. I'm going to give him a hand and get rid of this one. Put him, go back up here. So I have all of these also at 50%, which I'll have to change. Okay, walk. Whoops, the other way.
Yeah,
Oh,
I bet.
yeah. So go back up to the top. 1, 2, 3. So he's kicking his foot up forward a little bit. Boom. So I need to fix that. So this is a tedious process. There's no doubt about it. I think that's why animators work as hard as they do, because it is extremely tedious. And imagine doing this all on paper and never doing it digitally. Okay. And I'm probably, this is going to be the world's most boring recording ever.
Unless, I mean,
You can
if
speed
you're
it
having,
up, play through
yeah,
fast. I actually want to have his knee out more. I'm going to change that. Oh, and here's another really fun thing with my stupid tablet, because I've got such an archaic tablet. It turns off, it disables my keyboard commands, and I'm used to using Photoshop by just being able to use keyboard commands to switch from one tool to the other. But when I've got the tablet going, it disables that, and I have to actually go up and select this stupid tool.
when I started going to school, I bought a Surface Pro, and I thought that was the answer, but it's actually like kind of tricky because like the glass is slippery.
Oh,
It's not, you don't get the same texture as like a tablet, like a drawing pad.
right. That's the biggest problem I have with the tablet, is that you don't have the tactile. It's a little bit better. It's not perfect, but it seems to be going in order. So that makes me a little bit happier. Okay, so the next, let's say we're going to go ahead and go with this. I'm going to save this as, this is going to be my rough cut. So I'm going to save this as Frog Boy 2. And I'm going to select, if you have one eyeball on and you want to turn them all back on, hold down the Alt key and hit that eyeball again, and it should turn them all on, and it's not doing it because it's a stupid machine. So I'm just going to click and drag instead. Turn them all back
I didn't even know
on.
you could do that.
Yeah, I can click and drag, and then I'm going to select them all because most of them are at 50% right now, and that means that they'll be really gray, and turn them back up to 100%. And now I'm going to do my, oh, and so the one odd man out is going to be the one that I drew on this transparent layer. So I'll have to fix that too. Another problem that you'll have is if you draw over these, you've got a background full of pixels. And once you change it to drawing on a transparent layer, if that one is drawn on a totally transparent layer, you don't have all the gray around it,
Right.
but it's going to be, you'll see what happens. I'll show you. It's pretty funny. Okay, so I can live with that for now. It's not perfect, but it's okay. All right, so I'm going to save that just to show you what we can do next. I've got them. You can go through here and rename all these because it's going to add, every time you go through this process, it's going to add to the layer names. So it may be worthwhile going in and just renumbering all your layers so that they're the correct. But that's something that you can do on your own.
Right.
Or deleting this or whatever, because it's just going to keep adding on the extension, and that gets to be a real pain.
You know, another thing I was struggling with is I was trying to number them. The reason none of my images have numbers is because when I was taking the photos, it cut off the numbers. So when I was trying to add text on the layer, but
Yeah.
it kept adding its own layer for the text. And
Yeah, right. You have to flatten it. You have to drop it. There's a hotkey for that. Control E or Command E will drop the text layer onto the layer below it. So you should really draw the numbers on the frames as you're doing it. That way it's embedded in the image. When you take the picture, it's going to be there. And you can take them out later a lot easier than putting them in. Whoops.
it was driving, on top of everything else, it was driving me crazy.
Oh, yeah. This is enough to make any sane person completely lose their mind. Okay, so you get the idea of that. So now I've done that. I'm going to save that again. Keep saving, always save and save often. Now I'm going to export these layers. So on the PC, I believe it's export, and on the Mac, it's scripts again. But it will still, either way, it's going to say export layers to file. So it's going to take each layer out of my Photoshop file and make it an individual image, which is awesome. We don't want it to do visible layers only. We do want to put it in a place where we can find it, because that's one of the big problems that I have, is forgetting to put it in a place that I can remember to find it. This is going to be process folder. Okay, so I'm going to put it in there. So now it's going to save it out, and the prefix is going to be Lara, and it's going to be visible, all layers, not just invisible ones. We're going to run it and see what happens. Doink, doink, doink. Nice. There's some black stuff going on in there. That might be a problem. We'll see what happens. The very first time I taught this class, and they were like, there wasn't a specific software to actually do the pencil test in.
Right.
So I had to go hunting down a tutorial to find some way of doing it in a program that I could understand. So now we can walk down. There we go. Whoops. So nice thing about exporting it is that even though I've moved everything around and you can see the borders of where the original images were, all these files are exactly the same size, 900 by 675. So importing and exporting it they'll always be the same size, which means if I go to put it in a PDF, that's easy too, because it's just a matter of creating combined files into a single PDF. And then you just select all of them and drop them in there. and then combine the files. Ding, 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 ding. And then you'll have a PDF that you can just flip through like that. And it's got 29 frames in it now. And that's a lot easier to examine your animation, to be able to just step through it without having to tap with your mouse on anything.
Right.
So,
yeah, this thing was just unorganized from the jump. Like,
I think this is really cool. I love the turnaround. If you can fix these few frames where he's really funky looking, I think that the turnaround, and you might want to go through, you could do this again and again and again. Now I've made this into a PDF, so that took care of the transparent layer. It's now a solid layer, and these are going to all be solid. I can export these all out from Acrobat into layers again, into individual files again, and then put them into the, I can't think and talk at the same time. I'm sorry. Let me try this.
did you have a chance to look at the 5 Tech 2 for this one?
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh yeah, I got you.
I don't
No,
know. I can't think of more
cleaned
than
it
one
up
thing
pretty
at the same
well.
time. I can only think of so many things at once. All right, so I'm going to save this one out and just into the folder loose. Nope, nope, nope. I want to save it here. Save. So now I've got this one here that's a PDF that I can skip through in the preview. Once it's saved, I can actually export using tools. You can extract from 1 to 29 as separate files. And that way, and that happens pretty fast. So now I've got all of these individual frames out again, and they're all the same size. I just have to go in and put the 0 because Photoshop is stupid and it won't put it in the right order if I don't have the zeros in there for the double digits. And believe it or not, it's easier to do this than it is to do it in Photoshop. But what's nice, you can export these, extract them as JPEGs or as PDFs. It doesn't really matter, but as PDFs, we can still do the same. I'm going to close this guy, close this guy, close this guy. So I can load files into Stack, and I should be able to choose those clean frames and put them into a stack. Okay, almost done, almost done. Come on, come on, come on. This is pretty big. Oh, that's interesting. See what it did to my files? This is not good. I don't like what it did to my files. It made them bigger. They're now 1,500 pixels wide when I exported them. That shouldn't have happened. That's disturbing. I don't think I've noticed that happening before. That's why it's taking so long. I think that I should have set something different when I exported them. Because I always have these set up as pixels here, pixels. And I can see that it's way oversized. It blew them up, which means that whenever you make something bigger or smaller digitally, you will lose and you add or delete data. and that degradates the image. You want to try to avoid degrading the image.
For my character design class, I drew in Adobe Illustrator and then I drug it over to Photoshop.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it too if you could stand drawing in Illustrator. So yeah, it expanded. Oh, I made the resolution 300. Oh, that's terrible. That's not good. Get rid of that. That's a piece of crap. We're not even going to save this one. No way, Jose. So exporting those did not work the way that it should have. But you get the idea. I mean, that is something that you can do. And let's just go ahead and close all. There, okay. So let me go back to that last PSD that I made. This one here. Because this one is a good size, 900 pixels. So once you've done this and you've got them all ordered, and you could go back and put a layer on each one and do a nice clean inked out drawing for each one.
Yes.
On top of it and throw away the old one as you go. Then at that point, and you've made your PDF and you've double checked that, that's when you can take it into the video part of it. Do you want me to show you how to do that?
No, I did it already.
Okay. All right. So you know how to turn it into a timeline?
Yes, I used Photoshop. I went back and went through all your tutorials and I figured it out eventually. It just took forever.
Okay, well maybe I'll just run it through so it's on the recording.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine.
So once we do this, we have this all set up and we're happy with it the way it is. I'm not really, because it's got, oh, I have to fix this one transparent frame, I think. And the cat is sitting on my keyboard. Get off of, stupid animal. All right, I have to fix this one transparent frame. So to do that, I'm going to add blank layer, fill it with white.
Yeah, it'd be good to see it again because I kind of stumbled through that as well.
So if you ever have something that you have two layers, like you've added text to something, like if I added a letter or something to this right here, and for whatever reason, and I wanted to quickly drop that down, you just go Control E, and it drops that layer down onto the layer below it. So now it's all one layer.
Got it. Yeah, could have used that.
Yeah, and that's hotkeys are just awesome. Now there's a lot of transparent stuff going on here, but that's a whole different issue. All right, so I'll save this again. Now we want to open up the timeline. We want to make sure this is on frame animation, and we don't want timeline, we want frame animation. We'll click frame animation, so then it makes one animation, or it makes one frame. And we want to go to the flyout menu here and make frames from layers, and it'll make all the frames into the timeline. And then we want to play it, and it's going to play backwards because that's always what happens when I do it for whatever reason. It's easy to fix because you just select the first one and click the last one, or vice versa. Select all the frames and then reverse frames and then play it again, and it goes forward. Okay, it's going a little too fast. So I'm going to shift click all of them again and change the timing to be 0.2, and it'll change all the frames. And I click play, and that's about normal speed. I can deal with that. Now, once you've gone this far, I don't know how to go back out of it. In other words, I don't mess with the frames in here at all once I've gotten to this point, because I'm not really sure how it works. I just know that this is what I got to get all my frames together and I put them in the timeline. And then I have to, I go to the very beginning and the very beginning here, and I add one blank frame. I got to remember how I did that. Okay, just one new frame. Because when you put in a new frame, it's going to, new layers are visible in all the frames. So as I save one new frame, which should be this one here, and then put it to the bottom of the stack and put white in it. God, I hope I didn't screw this up, because if I did, I'm going to be really upset. I don't see where it is. But hopefully that works. We'll play it and see what happens. Okay, yep. It's got, now it's not transparent in behind all the other frames. It's got carrying that one white frame all the way through the background. You could put anything in the background. You could put some kind of pattern or decoration or whatever. So now I'll export it. Render video. So don't mess around with this stuff too much. Just make sure you remember where you saved it. I'm going to save it in with the, no, I'm going to save it in this outside folder where there's not too much stuff. And leave it QuickTime, medium quality, 24 frames a second, 675, whatever the default is, should work. And then render the video. Okay, then always go back and check it. Don't ever assume that it works. Because what I get when I do this through my Mac is I get a MOV, and it's 20 megabytes as a QuickTime movie, which is ridiculously huge. But once I open it, it converts it. I don't know if it does that on the PC or not. And so it's about 6 seconds long, which is about what it should be for 30 frames. And it plays nicely. Whoops, and I got a blank frame on the end. But that's easy to fix too, because you can actually, in QuickTime, you can trim it. And you can actually cut that black frame off. Like so. Play it again, Sam. And it plays without a black frame at the end, I hope. Boink. And then save it. And it'll save it as a converted movie. And that is good because it will be significantly smaller. It went from, the original movie was 20 megabytes and the converted movie is only 4. Nice. I don't know why it does it, but that's what it does. So and that's the whole thing. That was a really long, boring video, and I applaud anybody who's stuck it out for the whole dang thing.
Very helpful.
Well, I will go ahead and convert that and post it. I'm not going to even bother editing it. Well, maybe I will. I might trim off the front part of it where I screwed it all up with the stupid action thing. What I suggest doing, there's two ways you could do it. One is you could try doing the clean layers on the digital, or you can do the clean layers on the Lightbox and rescan them. It's kind of up to you.
Yeah, I mean, I already cleaned it up pretty good and submitted 5-Tac too.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure you'll have some critiquing, and then I'll adjust it again just to have a nicer version.
Well, everything that you do when you every time you take one of these classes, getting something that you can put in your portfolio at the end of the class is critical because you want to have
Yes.
at least a collection of decent work for your graduate portfolio. So it's never wasted work.
Right.
Okay. I
Very
think,
helpful though. I appreciate it.
oh, good, no problem. My pleasure. Anybody else have any questions? Got a few people left. Oh, yeah, I'm not going to do it online. Can I do it unless you want me to do it here in front of everybody, I can do that.
It was a really good class. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, there is more people in here. I
Yeah,
thought.
there's like 5 other people in here. So Ambrosia, do you want me to go ahead and open it up now, or do you want me to check it privately? Need help with the turns. Okay. Now. Okay, great. You don't mind if other people are hanging out watching? Okay. Alrighty, let us go get it. You said it's 3, 3, 2. Week 3, assignment 2. Okay. I really do not like bright space. I have to do this every single time I go through this thing. I have to go through it like that to find it. All right. Any particular one? This has got a crappy file name. I don't like that. That's a JPEG anyway. So this one? Whoa. Okay. Let me go look at the other one. Well, you're getting better. You're really getting better, but it's still a long, slow process. I mean, comparing this one to the very first one you turned in is a huge difference. But there's still some things that need to be adjusted. Are you using a ruler and measuring your horizontal lines? Because that's pretty important. Okay, so if you measure it with a ruler so that your lines are exactly the same distance apart. And then, where are we? J, here. Oh, that was the old one. Well, that's good. Let's look at the old one compared to the new one. Where did I save the new one? Darn it. Darn it, darn it, darn it. Losing my mind. Oh, okay. I saved it in the wrong folder.
Are we supposed to be able to see something else? I still see like the image that you were working on for
Oh,
mine.
really? Is that working now?
There it is.
Okay. I don't know what happened. Oh, I think my cat actually hit the keyboard again. Dumb cat. Dumb cat.
Okay.
He's a very big and clumsy cat. Mm-mm. Okay. So I want to save that. Save that in here. So this was her first time she tried this assignment, and this is the second time. So definitely a huge improvement between the first and the second. I think one of the things that'll help you is if you draw on bigger paper, because you're crowding yourself so much. It just feels like it's crowded. But you're getting more of a, I don't know if you're doing the construction underneath as much. Let me put this into Photoshop. You don't need to look at that one anymore.
That's a character design class, huh?
Yeah, it's the characters. You already took that one, right?
Yeah, I just got done with it. That was my last one.
Yeah, I didn't teach last term. So
That was kind of fun, but that was stressful too.
yeah, I think it's really stressful because you're required to do so much conceptualizing, and that's probably the hardest thing of all. So it looks like if you're using a ruler on a flat board, then these lines line up, and if they're not lining, if they are really flat across a flat board, then your paper might be warped while you're photographing it. So it should be lined up like this. I mean, it kind of doesn't matter where you put them. You see how it's shrinking as it goes to the right, the figure, because his head's down here when it was up here. So I don't know if you took a picture on an angle or if you're actually drawing it smaller as you go. So that's something that you're going to need to look at. For now, I will do a little cheat here just for sake of argument and pull that out so that they're the same height all the way across. We have got a snap to on. We want that none. Okay. There we go. So I'm going to line up their heads and line up their feet just in case the lines that you made, I mean, if you took the picture at a slight angle, then it's going to distort the image. So you want to make sure, very sure that you have your image totally flat, like on the wall, when you aim your camera at it, so it's completely squared up so that you don't get it off the grid there. Remember when you are drawing your character, let's see, you have to think in 3D. So if this is the head facing forward and your character has a snout on it, it's still going to be a round head, but now you're going to add a cylinder on it. So how big is the snout? You have to decide that in advance. And then you can do the 3/4 one by thinking in perspective, and it's going to be approximately like that. So that it's a 3/4 view. So the eye is slightly hid by the eyes are sideways here and slightly hid by the nose bridge there, and they're straight on here. So this is the way that I would do it, just to sketch it super lightly and then go back over it with like a light box and do a clean version of it. Okay, so when you measure the rulers, mark it off starting at the very edge of the paper and tick it off every ½ inch or something. You could even use grid paper for just the construction part of it so that you can get your figure constructed so that she's the same all the way across. And then put that on a light box and do a clean drawing of it after you've done the sketch. You could do it on grid paper. So we want 3/4. So you got to think of the head as being kind of like a sphere, and this is like the equator, and this is like the latitude or longitude. Longitude, I think it is. So we have there's longitude this way, and her eyes are going across here this way, and then the back of the head. And actually, when you're drawing the back of the head of a character, the skull is up. The back of the skull is a little higher. Generally, the jaw is going to drop down. So the back of the head is going to be up here, and then the jaw is going to be down here. And depending on what kind of a creature you're doing. And I think that the head is way too big. This head is like 4 heads. It's 4 heads high, and a normal human would be, I know it's a wolf, but if it's going to be a humanoid wolf, normally you would have a 6 to 7 head high figure. If it's going to be more childlike or cartoon-like or less threatening, you could say. I would make it with a bigger head. Whichever you decide to do, it kind of doesn't matter what proportions you use as long as the proportions are consistent across the board. And try to keep your line of gravity. You might even put a vertical line in there to keep, because I notice that you tend to tilt, and almost everybody does tend to tilt their figures to one side or the other, depending on whether they're left-handed or right-handed. So one way to fix that is to give yourself a vertical line to keep your figures in alignment. So I would put, Cat, get off the keyboard, for crying out loud. Doggone it. Okay, so shoulders, spine, hips. And this is just how I would do it. I would sketch it in stick figures all the way across so that I could get with the spine, the hips, and okay, so now you're going to have wolf legs or human legs. If you're going to have human legs, then you would have a knee joint and upper and lower legs like so. If you're going to have wolf legs, it's going to have a knee joint, the lower leg, and the heel, which is like the human heel is off the ground because that's how it is for animals, and they're walking on their toes because that's what wolves do. So you could either do it like this, or you can do it like a human. But you have to decide that with your character design if you're going to be doing it as a regular human leg with the heel on the ground, or as a wolf leg with the heel off the ground. So then don't forget the wolf has a tail. The tail comes off the back of the spine, so I'm just going to put the tail hanging down. So from the front, the tail would be there, and from the 3/4, the tail would be here, and from the back, the tail is going to be here. And if I'm going to do wolf legs, I'm probably going to want to have the knees are going to line up, so maybe I put an extra line in. Whoops. Oops. Undo. If you are doing this on Photoshop, you're laying out your lines on Photoshop, if you hold the Shift key when you drag, you can make a perfectly straight line. I'm going to line up the knees so that they are the same, and the heels too, once you've got that sorted out. So that would be one leg. This is the 3/4 view. The other leg, this should be the front leg from the front. And I tend to draw the feet sort of like triangles. I don't try to draw them like facing down like you're seeing the top of the feet, but if you're looking at something straight on, you're going to see, if you're going to see the front like the wolf paw like this, and then from the side the wolf paw is going to be like this, and then from the back the wolf paw is going to be like this because you're not going to see the toes, right? And 3/4 view, the wolf paw is going to be something like this. Just, as a really quick explanation, it's going to be overlapped. So you have to constantly think in 3 dimensions when you're doing these turnarounds or you're doing these characters. And it could even be helpful to you to use a model or a doll or a mannequin or something and set it up and draw from it, draw what you see, so that you're not having to make up every little thing in your head. You don't have to make up every little thing in your head because there's so much reality that you can draw from. I don't like the way this is looking, but I'm going to keep on going with it. Okay, so I don't know if this is helping you at all, but this is pretty much what I would do. And probably keep these like side by side so you don't have to draw both legs. And then from the back, the easiest thing to do from the back is, I'll show you just a second. And you can either do it with a light box, or if you're doing it with a tablet, you can make sure that the arms are back far enough. A lot of people put the arms way forward, but the shoulders are back. They're not sitting in the front of the chest. They're sitting more towards the back, in line with the spine. So it's like figure like so. Okay, I just can't, I have to get it complete. All right. So this would be totally the rough draft, and then I would go back and do a clean version. But for the back, I want the back view to be the exact opposite of the front view. So the easiest way to do that is going to be to take a copy or flip it over on the light table and take it over there and reverse it. So now she's backwards, and hopefully it hasn't tilted too much, and then I can just go in and erase the eyes because it's the back of the head now. But it should be exactly the same view as what we had on the front. The only difference being that the tail is now in the front, and let's see, this is going forward, this is going back, so this is going to be heels. So we can maybe see the overlap of the front part of the foot like so, and the back of the leg like so. Here's my stupid tablet, getting rid of my tools. But you can make your, if you're working on the tablet and you want to make your brush bigger or smaller, you can use the bracket key to make your, to change the size of your brush. Okay, bye, Ricky. Thanks for coming, and I'll post that. As soon as I post convert the recording, I'll send you a link. Or I'll post the link. Okay, no problem. All right, take it easy. Good night. Okay, so trying to visualize this guy in 3D here. So now I'm seeing the back of the paw and the toes coming forward, whereas over here I'm seeing the side of the paw in a 3/4 view, and over here I'm seeing the front of the paw. So I'm not super happy with I think the head is too big on this character. I'm not real happy with that. So I would want to redesign it so that the head was smaller, because I think it should be more human proportioned. But it's an iterative process. So you go across as you build it across, and I'll actually just make the head smaller by shrinking it, even though that's kind of cheating. This is going to be a rough draft that I'm going to draw over anyway. So the head should probably be more like about yay big. It's definitely too big from the side. Most definitely. Whoops. Okay, that's Control T or Command T to do a transform. Why is it popping? Should not snap. You can also use your arrow keys to fine-tune a movement with Photoshop. It makes it a little easier to move stuff around. And then we'll shrink the back of the head too. So with this, I would make another layer on top. I'd turn these guys down so that they're more like rough sketch underneath. And I've got a new clean layer on top. Oops, let's make that a little darker. So I got my new sketch there. So yeah, with the fur on the neck, all right, I'm going to make these lines a little lighter too because they're kind of intrusive. So you can lighten up all this stuff if you're doing it digitally, or you put it over a light box and do it on a clean piece of paper. I've got my structure underneath so I can build up the actual character from the front or from with cleaner lines. And I'm not a big fan of drawing with a tablet, but everybody's got their thing. So I would probably have to draw over this 3 or 4 times before I got one that looked adequate as a turn, as a submission. And I might even print it out. If I had to do this digitally, I would probably print it out and redraw it with a pen and ink and then scan it again. So now you're going to be able to draw claws on the hands. And she's furry, so she is going to have shaggy lines, but you want to be careful not to make that too sketchy or it's going to look weird. I would even make her feet bigger. I think it's always better to go bigger on the feet than smaller. So this would be my second pass, and then I would do another layer and put on a third pass to make the lines as clean as possible. So here, let's do the side view. Nose has got to line up with that nose. Eyes have got to line up with the other eyes. And we're going to tuck the chin a little bit smaller and put a ruff around the neck. Here's her arms. And more human-like arms. Maybe I would want to fine-tune those hands a lot. Okay, if she's female, is she going to have a bosom? That's kind of up to you. I think wolves have 6 nipples, not 2. So that's, yeah. And you want this, make sure this all matches up. So when she turns, if you were to put her in an animation and turn her, it would look like a 3D object turning. So that would be, and like I said, I would go bigger with the feet, bigger with the hands. I think that characters look better when they have big hands and big feet. I still think her head's too big from the side here. I might pull that, but not too much in because she is going to have a snout. Maybe we're going to take off the underside of her chin a little bit. I don't know. I'm not really good at, honestly, I don't like to make things up. I like to look at the real thing and draw it from reality because I'm kind of like a realist like that. So I would have a wolf in front of me and take a look at it. But once you draw your final pass, then turn off all the other layers and you can see it's still really rough. I would go over it one more time and make it really clean, but at least the form is matching up as it turns. Does that help? I mean, you've come a long way, but you've still got quite a ways to go. And it looks like you've been drawing like crazy. And that's the only way to get better, is just to draw like crazy. So I can see that you're doing that. I still would do this on paper. I wouldn't do this digitally because I don't like the way that the pen looks. But if you can do it digitally, the final pass I would always do in ink, no matter what, for a presentation purpose. And I would do that with a light table or a light box or some kind of a light source with a clean sheet of paper, and do it very carefully with a pen and ink. So I hope that helps. Okay. All right. I am going to stop because I am exhausted, and I hope that this has been helpful, and I will send everybody the link for the animation thing. I didn't record this drawing thing, but if you want to go over it, Ambrosia, if you want to go over it one more time, I could have some time tomorrow afternoon Send me a text if you'd like to meet. We could meet 2-ish, I believe. Okay, so why don't you text me around noon and just confirm that we can meet at 2. Are you on East Coast time? Okay, good. So yeah, send me a text at noon to remind me, and we'll meet at 2 and go over whatever else you've submitted. Alrighty? Okay, cool. All right, kids, have a good evening. Stay out of trouble, keep your nose clean, and I'll see you on the flip side.